Hello, very nice to meet you. I'd like to know about sex change operation.
I see. Men to woman, or woman to men.
Man to woman.
From penis to vagina.
You know what, Luke? I've got to admit, it's growing on me. Like that's my third or fourth time. I mean, obviously the thing is, that you already did that as a cold open back in the day.
I know. From penis to vagina.
Penis to vagina. It's like such a funny song. I was thinking like the problem with that song.
Wait. So let's talk about it in the review.
Yeah, you're right. Yes, you're right. Hello, and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out in the near and distant past. We give them a couple of watches and evaluate them beyond first impressions. We are continuing our Oscar extravaganza, looking at every film nominated for Best Picture in this coming Oscars. We are looking at films in pairs, and this week we are looking at a pairing, which I think is musicals and... Well, I guess it's like the defining thing is musicals. That's all there is to it, Luke. And I suppose also, about women or, and also kind of, in my head, I like to think that Wicked is kind of gay, and obviously Emilia Pérez is trans. Okay. But it's mostly musicals.
Why is Wicked gay?
I think it's just because, I mean, I don't want to say it's just because it's a musical. I think it's because Ariana Grande, as far as I know, there's a thing on Twitter, which I've learned about.
Oh, yeah, no, like gay people.
Stan culture.
Yeah, gay people like Ariana Grande. And maybe I think Cynthia Erivo is actually gay herself.
Yeah, wasn't there that woman who was into queer media?
Yeah. But, of course, we'll talk about defying gravity and holding space. You're going to have to wait an hour and a half for that. But
yeah, was Emilia Pérez holding space? Yeah,
but that's the thing. I'm not sure the musical itself is gay. But anyway, we'll get to that.
Yeah, it's mostly about musicals. It's overwhelmingly about musicals.
Yeah, you could argue Emilia Pérez being trans and Cynthia Erivo being green.
Yes.
they are both on the outskirts of society.
Yeah, well, that's what the G stands for in LGBT.
Yes, that's good. Yeah, I like
Thank
that. But yeah, the main thing, of course, is these are the two musicals that are nominated for Best Picture at this year's Oscars, so that's why we paired them together. And I put Emilia Pérez in this slot. This will be the last Best Picture reviews before the Oscars actually happen.
The big one.
Yeah, because I thought Emilia Pérez was in for a good chance of winning it.
It's changed now, hasn't it?
That is no longer the case, and we're going to get into why that might be. But of course, yes, let's get into reviewing the movie, shall we?
Yes, absolutely. Which is, so the movie we're starting with is Emilia Pérez. Do you have anything you would like to tell us about that in the way of introduction, Luke?
Yeah, so Emilia Pérez, or Emilia Pérez, is a 2024 Spanish language French musical crime film. It's a French.
Oh.
What? How can it be a French thing when it's a Spanish thing? Anyway, well, Mexican, but whatever. You get what I'm saying.
Same thing.
Yeah. It is written and directed by Jacques Adois. It is based on... I have no idea if I'm saying this correctly, by the way. It's the same thing as Caroline Fagit last week with the Substance.
Oh, no.
There's a real...
This one isn't a slur too, is it?
There's a real... Yeah, it's a real moment for French directors who have been somehow nominated for Oscars, but actually are really bad and have proven that the French don't know anything about art. Actually, no, I'm giving away what I think of this movie. But yeah,
that's a real, I was going to say, like, this one. Sometimes I try and keep my what's it called, chest close to my chest. There we go. But this time I didn't even bother.
So it is based on Adois' opera libretto of the same name, which he loosely adapted from a chapter of the 2018 novel Écoute by French writer Boris Razon. So there you go. So the movie Emilia Pérez stars Zoe Saldana, Carla Sofia Gascon, Selena Gomez, Adriana Paz, Mark Ivanir. Well, that's not Spanish.
Yeah.
But who is this guy?
Maybe he's the doctor.
You are right.
Like the Jewish doctor.
And he is Israeli. So.
Yes.
Edgar Ramirez also stars in this movie. It was released on the 21st of August 2024 in France, not in Mexico, in France.
Mexico.
And yeah, what is the budget, Michael, for Emilia Pérez?
I have no idea. Well, okay. So Zoe Saldana and Selena Gomez are actually quite quite famous people, which often is the case. You don't really have like two reasonably famous people. I mean, like she does the Marvel films. Selena Gomez does the music. 30 million.
Oh, what were you going to say before?
I was going to say 25.
26.
Okay, so
$26 million and 25 million euros.
Yeah, okay.
Because,
I think we always do it in dollars.
Yeah.
To that Frenchies.
So what about the box office for Emilia Pérez?
Yeah, it is a Netflix film, and it was also released at film festivals. I do know that because, of course, it did well at Cannes. But okay, so the fact is,
but
Netflix...
it did not do well at Guadalajara.
So I don't know, like what, 500,000. I'm just basing that on it being a Netflix film. That's all. Okay.
No, so okay, you have no idea.
No,
it's fine. It's difficult. It's $15 million.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, 14.9 to be exact. Anyway, let us ask the question, Michael. Did you like Emilia Pérez?
No. I have two key criticisms. First of all, this is a musical where the music is bad, which I'd say is a problem. And second of all, I actually found like the plot like very like kind of what's happening doesn't really make any sense. You're not really that invested in it. Like the fact that she just randomly decides to start this like, oh, we're gonna help people find their dead bodies of their relatives.
Okay,
it's not that interesting.
Well,
so yeah, I didn't like it.
I think the plot is actually kind of fine.
In terms of
sorry,
I was just gonna, I hated it.
In terms of what it's trying to do. Sorry, well, the drama it can create.
Yes,
I think it's good. It goes in an interesting direction. But I am just very kind of confused about the message of the movie, what it's trying to say. Because you got this guy who is, an ex-cartel boss, and he then transitions into being a woman and leaves, her old life behind as it is now. And, then she becomes this person who tries to give back, tries to help these group of people who have been wronged.
Is it that only women have feelings?
Yes, by her. Well, maybe that's part of it. It's like, we need less masculine, I don't know, energy and more feminine energy.
More female cartel bosses.
That'll save the world. But no, I don't know if the movie would go that far, to be honest. But the point, okay, right. She, I guess the best word would be relapses. And, goes back to her old ways of, because of course her ex-wife finds, she's going to get married, she's going to take the kids. Okay, well, I've got to stop that. So I'm going to go back to my old cartel ways. And the movie, and of course she did a lot of bad stuff when she was a cartel boss.
Yeah, and does she do enough to atone? Well,
she tries to, but I would say no, given, again, the scale of what, she probably did when she was a cartel boss. But then we get to the end of the movie, and I thought the message up until this point was, oh yeah, like you can try and, change your ways, or you can, try and change who you are, quite literally. She changes her whole fucking sex, but like, you can't actually do that. You can't actually escape from your past. But then the movie ends with a tribute to her.
Yes.
And that's what, and Rita, who of course is like the main normal character, who is not meant to be, corrupted. She's, just meant to be, just somebody who we as an audience kind of like, we're sympathetic to her to some degree.
Yes.
She is devastated by the loss of Emilia Pérez, and apparently everyone else is, heartbroken. And the movie ends
like a procession.
Yeah, the movie ends like that. And of course they didn't know who she was beforehand, but of course we see that as the audience in the last scene. So we're meant to interpret that, oh, this was actually a really great person. And I just completely disagree with that. I was like, what? Have we watched the same movie up until this point? So that to me was the bad thing about it.
I would absolutely agree with that, actually. Like, this movie, it doesn't really have a message. I also think it's, like, worth saying
No, but that's the thing. I think that is...
it does, okay, yeah, it does have a message that doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, but I don't think, again, it should have this message, considering what we've just seen. It's like the director just didn't watch the movie he just created and wrote.
Just going off the... Maybe he wrote the conclusion first.
No, yeah, like, cartel bosses are responsible, and this is why there was such a backlash in Mexico to this movie. Cartel bosses are responsible for so much like death and pain. They're horrible people. They're horrible organizations. They're criminal organizations. Everyone knows this. Everyone's aware of this. And it's like, I'm not trying to moralize here, but that's just what they are. You're
not trying to be woke, Luke, are you?
Yeah, well, no, that's the thing. The biggest, the people who are against cartels are the American right wing. Trump has said that he wants to classify them
Right,
as
so you're being
like,
racist.
terrorists or whatever. And I don't think they're like terrorists. It's like the mob in the United States. They're a criminal organization. But
Yes.
yeah, like they kill a lot of people. They do
Yeah.
horrific
Muchos
things.
gentes.
Yes, and this person was at the center of it all. And then, oh my god! And then to go from that to a tribute at the end, I think this is why people in Mexico disliked it so much, and this is why I, to be honest, disliked it as well, because I couldn't really believe how it ended. And then, of course, there's the musical aspect to it, which is I don't think the music is that good either.
Yeah.
Or
I'm looking forward to talking about the music.
Yeah, the numbers as they are known, of course.
Yeah. Are any of these going to make it on your Spotify playlist?
No. Did you see that video from Ben Shapiro talking about a certain other musical?
Was he talking about Wicked?
Yeah. And I watched the first bit of it, and I remember he was like, they're not songs, they're numbers. Okay, people call them songs, but it's a musical. They're called numbers. Okay.
Oh, so was he? He wasn't even saying it in like a disparaging way. He was just being pedantic.
Yeah. No.
really
He's. Have you not seen that video?
I haven't seen that video.
Oh
no.
my god! Right,
I've only seen him say that rap isn't real music.
No. It's such a funny video considering who he is.
Yeah, like that sounds like really gay, but
Exactly.
Yes.
Like the analysis he's giving is fine, but considering who he is, it's really actually quite funny. Anyway,
absolutely.
Yeah, let us get into nitpicks. How many do you have?
I have one lit pick.
Okay, go for it.
So, now, when I was on YouTube, as we all know, YouTube got rid of the ability to ad block, and I just decided to roll over and accept it. But I didn't really, because I got a thing that let me skip. Like, I can manually skip through the adverts, but the adverts still come up, if that makes sense. So, I was on YouTube like a few months ago, and every single time I would load up a video, I would hear "ladies and gentlemen," and I would just be like I say, I have this extension that lets me manually skip through it, and I just manually skip through it. I'd only hear that, but every single advert was that for ages. So when Zoe Saldana, Rita, speaks to the doctor, I was about to say speaks to the Jew, because I was trying to remember who. Yeah, speaks to the doctor. There's a bit, and you maybe didn't even notice it. Maybe you're not even thinking, but there's a bit where she says, "Ladies and gentlemen," and she says it like that kind of way, which is a bit random that she says it like that, to be honest. But I had such a moment of holy shit, the movie that I was getting advertised to me every single day of my life for 2 months straight, that I was skipping through such I never even saw what the movie was because I only heard that, was Emilia Pérez, and that was a great moment of closure for me. Okay. Right now, the film I'm getting advertised all the time is Daniel Craig in a movie called Queer.
Yeah. So, okay, the YouTube algorithm thinks you're interested in LGBT stuff.
I know. How did that happen? I don't know.
Well, or it thinks, you like musicals.
Or it thinks I hate Mexicans.
So, let us get into the plot now.
Yes, absolutely. So, Rita, an underrated lawyer working for a large law firm more interested in getting criminals out of jail than bringing them to justice, is hired by the leader of a cartel who wants her help to disappear and transition into a woman. So this is a fine premise for a movie,
interesting.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's weird that it's a musical. You think of the premise and you're like, well, there's nothing really that fantastical about it.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe shows in the music numbers that we
Yes.
see, or just the numbers, I guess. There's no need for that music thing. It's redundant. But yeah, again, it's an interesting premise. And again, I do think the plot makes things more interesting when Emilia Pérez goes back to Mexico. But again, the message is weird. You can literally leave your old self behind.
Yeah.
Even if you're an ex-cartel boss, and you can just be like, yeah, I'm a different person now, and I'm gonna do good. Then the movie treats you like a heroine at the end of the movie. Yeah. Which is crazy. Again, I keep going on about this, but this person is responsible for so much pain and death, and even Rita just treats her like a normal person in the second half of the movie.
That's something which I wanted to get onto when we really get onto that. But the thing I was going to say is when I first heard about the premise of this movie just being a cartel boss transitions into being a woman, and I also knew this movie was controversial, and I'd even seen someone saying it was transphobic, which I will say just as I don't think this movie actually says that much about this film doesn't really have a message on the trans thing specifically. It's more kind of, like you said, a more generalized thing about just reforming, changing your life in general.
Yeah.
In a way, this movie could almost weirdly be, it would have to change a bit, but almost thematically, this movie would be exactly the same if it was just about a guy who transitions physically to look like another guy. But one thing I was going to say is when I first heard about this premise, I actually was like assuming it was going to be like a guy who doesn't even identify as trans, like gets a sex change operation in order to like basically avoid the authorities. And I was thinking like, oh, obviously like I can understand why people think that's like really offensive, because that would be implying it's like a, you know, like a sneaky trick. So I was kind of disappointed.
The doctor even says that at one point to Rita. He's like, well, you know, you can't just change your identity. It has to be in the mind. And you would think maybe if that was the case, it would be quite offensive, but it would be more like comedic almost.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, this is going to be a wild time. And then I was like disappointed when I found out, oh, it's just that he's like actually trans, or she's like trans.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't actually think that, like you said, the movie focuses on the trans thing too much. Yeah. Like she transitions, she's now Emilia Pérez, and then the rest of the movie, like 3/4 of the movie happens after that. And it's really about, you know,
and like they skip over the whole like transition because it's like the 4 years later flash forward. Yeah.
She's trying to reform herself, and that's the real big thing. But yeah, also again talking about, you know, the musical aspects to it. I think also maybe one of the reasons why I didn't appreciate it is because the numbers were in Spanish, which of course I do not speak Spanish, so I think only 2 of the songs caught my attention.
Yeah, and interestingly, like one of the worst songs is in English. So they really didn't bet on the right horse there, did they?
Yeah. I think the 2 that caught my attention, one of them was the worst, one of them was the best.
I'm interested because I have one which I think I have one that I would say is in my view decidedly the best. So
we'll get to that.
When we get to that, that'll be fun.
I mentioned before about how this movie was in contention to win Best Picture, perhaps. It had some momentum. And then Carla Gascon, she said some things, I think, about Mexico, and then some Mexicans on Twitter, or what, did she say some things about Brazil? I can't remember. She offended somebody, like she said some stuff in an interview, and people went digging into her past, and they found out some interesting stuff, and that has completely derailed any chance of her winning Best Actress, which she is nominated for, and also Emilia Pérez winning Best Picture. It is now, do you know what it was? I think it was like 6 or 7 to 1 about a month ago.
Yeah.
Or a month and a bit ago. I can't remember. But do you know what the odds are? I checked today for Emilia Pérez.
Well, I couldn't even guess, but I'm going to say that they've like flipped. So now it's like, wait, so would that just be like 1 to 7?
No, you.
I don't really know. I don't know how. I actually like to my shame. I don't know how betting odds work.
You're so fucking like, what the fuck is the matter with you? How does any man in their 20s? You must be gay. No.
The worst thing is, by the way, I've looked up, like I've actually asked ChatGPT on multiple occasions, how do betting odds work? Because sometimes I want to know, like, who's going to win the next upcoming Canadian election, and I'll like, the first thing you get is the betting sites, and I'll be like, okay, lots of numbers. If something is
5 to 1, it has a 20% chance of being right.
Yeah, because essentially, so the logic is if I put in £5, I get £1 back.
No.
Yeah. How much money do I get back if it's 5 to 1?
That's 1 to 5. So if you put £1 in and you win, you get £5 back. That's 5 to 1. Okay, yes. So it was 6 to 1 and 7 or 7 to 1, something like that. Guess what it is now.
It's much lower. So I need to go for a higher number. So it'll be like,
oh well, fucking done, you. So
it's now 100 to 1. No, that's probably too high. It's 50 to 1.
It is actually 50 to 1.
Oh, well done. See, that's because I'm such a what's it called, gambling expert.
Yeah, you've redeemed yourself. But yeah, no, after above 20, it starts going up in blocks of 5. Really. Yeah. So but 50 to 1. Yeah, that's the odds for Emilia Pérez to win Best Picture. Which of course I think it's like 7 to 1, so it's got it's 7 times less likely now to win Best Picture after this controversy which we've set up, so go into it now.
Yes, absolutely. So in January 2025, old tweets by Gascon resurfaced showing offensive remarks about Muslims, George Floyd, diversity at the Oscars, China, and various religions.
Sorry, just to cut in, she is that is the least racist Spaniard, by the way.
Yes, exactly, definitely. Gascon apologized and deleted her Twitter account and gave an emotional TV interview on CNN en Español, insisting she was not racist and comparing her struggles to those of black people, which led to further backlash.
What a surprise.
Netflix distanced itself from Gascon, cutting funding for her travel and fashion during awards season and removing her from Emilia Pérez's award campaign. Yes. You could say no one tweets like Gaston or something. I don't know. I didn't work out the rest of it.
The least racist Spaniard. It doesn't matter what you've gone through in your life. And you may think I'm being harsh on Spanish people here, but trust me, I know Spanish.
Yeah, well, they did that thing about Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, they did.
Blackfaced.
Oh yeah, no, that's not even the half of it. So that's Emilia Pérez not winning anything at the Oscars. So well done, Carla Gascon.
Which is weird because it really should be about the talent of the filmmaking, shouldn't it? It shouldn't get bogged down in politics. I think that if Hitler made a good movie, he should win the best Oscar.
But thank God she said all that. So now it's not going to win anything, which I think is
kind of like Jesus, you could say, like a self-sacrifice for the benefit of all of us, so we didn't have to deal with this movie doing really well.
Exactly. So let's get into the script now.
Yeah. So Rita Mora Castro, a struggling chica attorney in Mexico City, or Ciudad de Mexico, leads the defense. I'm going to do a Beto O'Rourke thing where I randomly just repeat things in Spanish. Leads the defense in a murder case involving a media figure's wife. Against her own conscience, Rita argues that the woman died by suicide. El alligator. So the thing about this is it's fine. It does set up a key thing though, which is that Rita's not someone who's just going to do something for an evil person for money. She this establishes that she has to be in some sense satisfied by the idea that she's doing some good moral thing, which, I think has implications when she's then going to work for a very evil person who, that's like something that I found interesting. Just like the fact that the one thing we set up about her is that she's like not someone who's just like, oh, I'm just going to work for an evil person for money and, go against my conscience. Yeah,
it's quite weird, isn't it? Because who she is at the beginning of the movie is incredibly principled, it seems. Well, not incredibly principled, but decently. She's doing all this work getting off people who have committed crimes. And then what does she do throughout the rest of the movie? She helps someone who has committed a bunch of crimes start a new life, and then she welcomes this person back to Mexico to be with her family, and then helps her start this and the movie, if the movie portrayed Rita as being corrupted by money, that would be one thing, of course, that'd be interesting, but from what I can tell, the movie does not do that.
Yeah, it's really funny that if that guy who she got off of who murdered his wife, if instead of saying she committed suicide, he said, actually, I just want to transition into a woman and run away and avoid justice, she'd be like, oh yeah, why didn't you say so? That's fine.
She'd go, yes. Yeah. Get it?
She does. Yeah, she loves saying that, doesn't she? Okay, so Rita receives a call with a mysterious but lucrative offer. Reflecting on her discontent, she agrees to a meeting, todo y nada. Her client is cartel kingpin Juan del Monte, who wants to... Oh wait, wasn't his name Manitas?
Well, I think that is his nickname.
Okay, good. So, who wants to undergo gender-affirming surgery and begin a new life as a woman. Yeah, there's a... this is fine. The one thing I did want to say is any woman, when she went to that random back alley and gets abducted, I was thinking, honestly, this movie should just be she should just die and the movie should be about someone else, because if you are in Mexico City and you agree to, especially if you work as a lawyer where you can make a lot of enemies, and you're like, yeah, I'll just go to this random alley after I've got this ominous phone call. I'm sorry, but you deserve to die.
Well, no, to be honest, I think...
You think people don't deserve to die, Luke?
No, I think because it's Mexico City, they wouldn't have bothered with the phone call.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, right. If they've bothered, they've done me that courtesy. Clearly, this is a gentleman.
I mean, they would have just killed her, if someone had a problem with her.
Yeah.
They don't need this elaborate phone call, and we'll come outside, we know where you are. No, they just would have gone into the bathroom and, shot her. And then, there you go. No one's going to do anything about it.
It's a simple time.
It is a simple place. No,
yes.
But it is kind of... Well,
it's kind of bad.
It is kind of bad because of people like fucking
Manatee gas.
It's a crazy way for the movie to go, isn't it? This kingpin, one of the most fitted men in all of Mexico, wants to become a woman. Wants to become a little dainty woman now.
A little pathetic woman.
The thing is, when I didn't know what this movie was about when I first heard the controversy about it. Then I read up on it. I was like, oh fucking hell, wow, that's a 180, isn't it?
That's a doozy.
Yeah. It's fine for the movie to do this. Again, I think it's interesting. But again, I have had a problem with Rita, who is in the car. Again, she's the main character right now. And Juan del Monte or Manitas tells her this, and she just takes it in stride.
Yeah, I was going to say, she's just cool.
Yeah, she doesn't care. Like, she's just like, oh, fine, okay, I'll do it. It's like, this fucking cartel kingpin has said, I want to transition to be a woman. I would find that would be the most shocking thing I've ever heard.
I'd be like, that's a development right there.
Yeah, and she's just like, okay, fine. Her character is really underdone, and Zoe Saldana is nominated for Best Supporting Actress, I believe, which is kind of weird. It's supporting. I guess she's not the main. Well, the movie is called Emilia Pérez, so I guess it's not called Rita Moreno. But she is quite underdone as a character, and I think the reason why she's nominated is because of perhaps one reason, which we'll get to.
It's too woke.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah,
DEI. Don't let any aeroplanes. I just want to say regarding her character as well. Like, it almost seems like she's really personally invested. Like, there's early on. I mean, obviously, so it says here, Rita consults with doctors in Bangkok vaginoplasty. Sorry, I didn't do it right. I feel like vaginoplastia. There we go. I know they probably don't say it in that tune, but I can't remember what they say. The one thing I just want to say is like she's going to all this effort, and I'm like, it almost seems like she actively cares about like doing this. Like that was the vibe I picked up from her, and I was like, that just doesn't make any sense that she would like care about helping this random person she's just met. But yeah, do you want to talk about La Vaginoplastia?
Okay, so yeah.
So this is the best song, right? I think that's we said we were going to mention it when we get to it.
Ironically, it is kind of the best because it's the one I've listened to the most. So.
It's the most entertaining to be. Yeah, you can't deny that actually.
Yeah. So I mean, the thing, what's crazy about this, of course, it just starts right away. Like there's no setup, which I found funny. Yeah, I'm going to play a bit of it actually now.
Very nice to meet you. I'd like to know about sex change operation.
I see.
Right.
Men to woman, or woman to men.
Man to woman, it's to vagina.
It's just like the best lyric ever.
Yeah, it's so weird because, by the way, I would say that song is uniquely bad.
It is. Like I remember when this bit is okay. But it's like, it's weird how there's gaps here. Like, he should say mammoplasty right after she speaks. But, again, it's not directed that well.
Yeah. Let's just repeat themselves, which is good.
Oh, this is the bit, yeah.
What is that?
Adam's apple reduction.
Yes.
Why is she so into the Adams? Like, what does she hate about Adam's apples?
I know. It's like,
just like
he's so he's so enthusiastic. It's like, Adam's like, yeah, man, that's the big thing when transitioning to be a woman. Adam's apple reduction. Yes. Like, it's the thing. It's like she just won the lottery, It's crazy.
Which again, like, I feel like that validates my thing about like she seems way too invested in like the Adam's apple of this guy she's just met who's a bad person.
Yeah, but of course, it's like a musical. The number is the flow is what you'd expect in a musical. It's just about a really weird subject, and the lyrics again don't really make sense considering again the flow and the style. And and also there is no setup to it. Like I said before, Rita should have visited somewhere else first, because the number is basically showing how amazing these surgeries are, and like she's gasping. She's like, oh, I can't believe it. At the end, she's like, she's amazed by all these surgeries. But this is the first place she has visited. So it would make sense in the narrative if she's visited somewhere else, which was disappointing. And then she goes to this place and it's like, wow, this is incredible. But then...
The Adam's apple. Yes.
Yes. But the thing is, what is even crazier about this song is... fucking Manitaz never goes to Bangkok.
I was going to say, like, that's also the thing I felt the need to point out. Like, she doesn't even go for this option.
This could have been cut. This whole thing could have been cut.
Yeah.
And it's an embarrassing song. It would have made the movie less embarrassing, less, funny.
Yeah, it would have made the movie worse.
It would.
Like it is the one thing in this movie that I enjoy. And also, like, this is the one thing that everyone, like, was sharing about this movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it went viral on Twitter because of just how ridiculous it was. And again, that's maybe good for us. It's entertaining. It's good, for...
it's not good for the movie.
But it's not good for the movie if you want it to win Best Picture, if people are mocking it online. When, again, it could have just been cut, and it should have been cut, honestly. But yeah, again, it's not a good movie. And like this is maybe the best example of that. A pointless scene. It is pointless, which again with a song which is again ridiculous, honestly.
Moving on, Rita visits Tel Aviv, lady, and finds a surgeon who agrees to the procedure after hearing Manita's recollections of gender dysphoria during childhood. Desio.
Okay, do you know after Manitas? Do you know what that is?
Oh, that's an apostrophe. So I just said Manitas's.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I'll do that again.
You're aware of apostrophes after? No, it's fine. It's fine. I want people to
you just
know.
want. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. It's just like sometimes I don't like. It always throws me off when there's an apostrophe at the end. It just scares me a bit.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So so this is again what I am going to criticize about. Well, another thing I'm going to criticize about this movie regarding its music or the musical element is that there is no need for a song here in an office. So beforehand, when she's visiting the vaginoplasty, whatever. When she's visiting the surgery in Bangkok, okay, to her it's amazing, it's incredible.
Yeah,
so you can understand,
a vibe.
Yeah, why there is this fantastical element. So that's why you have this musical element in the, this is why you have it in the movie, even though again it's pointless. But I get why there was a song here in this scene.
Yeah,
they're just sitting in an office, her and this Israeli doctor.
Yeah, I was thinking that, like, a lot of these like musicals, it just seems like, maybe they should sing this.
Yeah.
Oh, they could. Yeah, let's let them sing it.
La vaginoplasty was what a great name. It was cinematic. It was cinematic. They're just sitting in an office. Like, God, it's so bad. I couldn't really believe it when they were doing this. And initially, of course, the surgeon. It's interesting. He is against the operation.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about money, and that is a way to smash stereotypes, honestly.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Yeah, like that's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking, like, surely this guy would think he could get some muchos dineros, which is I assume how he would refer to it. Yeah,
I mean, this guy does surgery for money. I don't know why he'd care so much about like, I need to make sure this person is fully committed. I don't really get that, to be honest.
Yeah,
but
I feel like if you're in cosmetic surgery, you're like, oh, really? You hate your body?
Yes.
Just step right in.
Doctors who are surgeons or plastic surgeons are not really the most moral. I think,
like if he was like removing like cancer, I'd be like, oh yeah, maybe he'd be like very scrupulous about what he's doing.
Exactly. Well, think about it. Like if you're a surgeon, you spent years studying. Okay, so are you going to help people? Are you going to go down that path, or are you going to make people look more attractive or do like a gender surgery or whatever? Like there is two paths here, and if you take the second path of again being a cosmetic surgeon, you probably don't care about saving lives. You've gone down this path, so therefore you would lack morals. So I just don't really get this whole thing about, oh no, I need to make sure this person is like this guy is going to pay you like a fucking fortune for this surgery.
Yeah,
but it's crazy. Rita, I don't like when Manitas talks about his dysphoria to Rita. Here's the thing. Of course, you could say, oh well, it's emotional. He's talking about his struggles as a kid, etc. But Rita just acts like he's a normal human being still.
Yeah,
like
rather than like a murderer. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like she could be like, wow, it's crazy. I didn't realize this cartel boss would have this sensitive side to him. But I think she starts crying, so she gets emotional. It's like this fucking guy's killed so many people. Again, this movie kind of just forgets that. It just forgets that so many times. Let's move on.
Manitas stages his death and begins a new life as Emilia Pérez. 4 years later in London, Rita encounters Emilia, who wants to reunite with her kids so she can groom them.
Whoa, Michael. Leave that to your other channel, pal.
There we go, yeah. Por casualidad. I like finding out that por casualidad means like by chance. I mean, I guess it makes sense.
Yeah.
Rita arranges for her ex-wife, Jessie, and the children to return to Mexico to live with Emilia, introducing her as a cousin of Manitas. So yeah, this is interesting. I feel like...
Well, do you know what it is?
What is it?
It's Mexican Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh my goodness, like that's the thing, like I was thinking that too. I mean, obviously there's also like that they make a comment at some point where she's like, it's a miracle they didn't recognize you. And I was thinking like, I can't really tell. I'm like, because like I guess obviously she's saying she's related to Manita, so maybe they're like, well yeah, of course they look similar. But you're like, it is kind of miraculous. And obviously in Mrs. Doubtfire it worked because it was a comedy. There's with like the characterization here, I feel like skipping over this stuff and just having it be like, oh, I just want to see my kids.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know why. Like, I didn't really like buy like any emotional aspect of this. So I was just like, okay, I guess that's just a thing that's happening.
yeah, I mean, I can understand it, of course, because you're a
Yeah.
parent, you want to see your kids. That makes sense. But yeah, it just happens all of a sudden, And
Yeah.
I do like the poor casually dad, whatever it's called. How do you pronounce it?
I guess I think you said it right, so I can't correct you. You said por casualidad. Por
Yeah.
casualidad. Yeah.
Poor casual dad.
He's a very casual dad.
But yeah, I do like the scene when when it all goes to black and everything is dark, except them, of course. And I like that. That's a good artistic choice.
What I like to think about that is it's actually taken from the moment in Malcolm in the Middle where Malcolm agrees to start roller skating with Hal.
Okay.
There's a bit where he's like, I want to start roller skating with you, Dad. And literally, like, they're in a black void and he's like, are you sure, son? If you start this, there's no going back. So there we go.
Yeah. You know what, actually? Malcolm in the Middle, I'm sure you know this, is very popular in Mexico.
Oh, I actually did not know that. But
okay, wow. As a Malcolm in the Middle fan, you should know this.
I actually think Malcolm in the Middle is super goated, so I'm glad that the Mexicans have done it.
Yeah, for some reason, it is insanely popular in Mexico. So, yeah, there you go. Maybe, although the director didn't really care about Mexico when making this movie, so maybe, maybe that theory isn't correct, but yeah.
Trans criticism.
Yeah, sorry, just jumping.
Okay,
of course, you said before about how, though, you were surprised at the trans criticism. Well, there is some, so I've thought of, obviously, considering the movie is about a trans person, that we should go into this.
Yes, absolutely. I need to stop saying absolutely. It's getting old. It's as bad as Gutenberg. Critics and organizations from the LGBTQ community criticized the movie. Speaking for NPR's Pop Culture Happy Hour, critic Rihanna Cruz said it seemed like the filmmaker was painting trans women as liars, while GLAAD called it a profoundly retrograde portrayal of a trans woman and a step backward for trans representation. Lisa Lehman of Culture S lamented how Emilia Pérez was yet another trans-centric film that focused on surgeries. I feel like, I'm just going to say this, I feel like all those people are just a bunch of whining little bitches, and actually all of those criticisms are pretty much illegitimate.
So the last one, I think, is illegitimate.
Yeah.
It doesn't focus on the surgery. The surgery, like we said, it takes like
room.
Like the first quarter of the movie is kind of about that, as you would kind of expect, because this guy Manitas is a cartel boss. He wants to become a woman. Okay, so the surgery is gonna, play a role, and that's how Rita gets involved. So, and then afterwards,
and like they are very efficient in terms of just like getting it like that. There you go, that's it. Surgery's done.
Yeah. So I really don't think it does focus on the surgery.
Yeah.
It's in the movie. If you just want to criticize it for the fact that there is a surgery in the movie, then do it. But it doesn't focus on it.
And I'm not really sure how much of a criticism that is. And also, I'm just gonna say, like, I haven't seen that many movies about like trans stuff. There is like one movie I saw called like, I know, it's shocking, but there's one movie I saw called Trans America. There's one movie I saw called My Babysitter Has a Dick. What was that like thing about like let's just say I'm a special girl?
Yeah.
No, but there's a movie called Trans America, but like that movie is, and I feel like the average movie about a trans person, they're already transitioned and it's about like their life as a trans person. I don't think there are actually even that many movies about someone actively transitioning.
That honestly, that's kind of a good point. Yeah, honestly, I haven't really seen a lot.
Yeah, but I just like, I feel like I'm right.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, and then the other criticisms from Rihanna Cruz, who said it was a step backwards, and GLAAD calling it a retrograde portrayal of a trans woman. Look, okay, the trans woman in question is an ex-cartel boss.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I feel like people shouldn't be taking this as representative.
Yes, I don't think, again, what I said before about the premise being interesting, you would not expect an ex-cartel boss to want to transition to being a woman. Therefore, that's the point of the movie. Like, wow, that's a crazy thing. That's like the hook. I don't think many people are going to watch this movie and think, wow, trans people, they're all fucking ex-cartel bots. Like, I don't think people are going to think that, honestly. And you could say, oh well, this person Emilia Pérez does horrible things once she becomes, a woman. But again, I would say, well, that's because again she was an ex-cartel boss. That is a crucial part of the whole thing, and I don't think you can look at this movie and think, well, there you go, it's a negative portrayal of a trans character. No, the central point, I think the overwhelming point, to be honest, of the movie, and until the end, to be honest, is despite the transition, this person is still who they've always been, which is
Yeah.
quite a bad person, quite a horrible person. Even though the movie it ends in a way which kind of refutes what I'm saying, but I would say,
No, yeah, I get you.
yeah. So
Like that's the thing, the movie's inconsistent enough in a way that you could like, you can't say anything definitive, but yeah, insofar as it seems to be saying an overwhelming message.
Even at the end, like, oh, Emilia Pérez is a hero. Okay, so therefore it's not really painting trans women as liars.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think it is a step backwards for trans representation, honestly. I think, again, you have a very unique situation here with the trans woman in question being an ex-cartel boss. Therefore, everything else, is going to be not, it's going to be quite unique.
Yeah. One thing I just want to say real quick is that, like, also I would say it would almost be more retrograde if it was like, as soon as she becomes a woman, suddenly it's like, oh, I'm all flowery and like pink and fluffy and like happy, because that would be like obviously like stereotypes and stuff like that. So like, yeah, if anything, like, that would be kind of more offensive. It was just like, I'm a woman now, so I'm going to be completely just a totally different person. Yeah, especially things like one of the things that a lot of trans people say is like, well, I was always a woman, so if it, like based on that, shouldn't really change character.
Yeah, anyway. No, and she doesn't. So
yeah,
the cartel aspect just. It means that you can't make sweeping statements about trans representation based on this movie, and I disagree with these critics as well, as well as you, to be honest.
Yeah. So Rita and Emilia have an encounter with the mother of a missing child. Emilia reflects on her past and, remorseful, creates a non-profit that identifies the bodies of cartel victims. Bada! Rita and Emilia build the non-profit and recruit donors, some of whom, Rita notes, are corrupt. El mal!
Can I just say, by the way, it's an interesting idea that this movie, I put this in my notes, was proposing, like, oh, you've become a different person, but have you? It doesn't really work like that. I think about how Kevin Spacey, he said he was gay, which, okay, fine, but he's still a rapist. So, like, you're still cancelled, pal. Doesn't matter that you're now gay. Oh, great. No, you still did all that bad shit. And again, he can't work in Hollywood anymore, which is good. But yeah, this movie seems to imply you can change yourself as a person, but then you also can't. Honestly, man, I can't wait to get to the last scene because I'm going to go on a rant about that. But I'm
excited.
Let's talk about the El Mal number.
So I don't like this.
Yeah, okay.
It's too much. It's too exciting. It's too intense.
Okay, is that your genuine opinion?
Kind of. I mean, she's like, it feels like a bit too like showy in a way. I don't want to say the phrase it insists upon itself, because I feel like that kind of implies something where it's like trying to be clever. But this is like the kind of the drama kid version of insisting upon itself, where it's just like, look, I'm gonna throw myself around and jump on the tables and kind of do a like shouty thing, and the music's gonna be all staccato.
Okay, right. I disagree, honestly, because it was.
That's fine, Luke. I respect you.
It was entertaining.
It was warranted.
It was entertaining. Most of these numbers, again, aren't entertaining. This is actually entertaining. And I think El Mal is the standout.
Okay, this is interesting because that's not my standout, so you get to look forward to the fact I have a different standout.
Well, I think this is why Zoe Saldana might win an Oscar, because I think she really nails it in this song. And I saw this song on Twitter, devoid of any context. I was like, oh wow, this is actually quite good. I can see why people like this movie now, like why Denis Villeneuve was like, oh yeah, this is a great movie, and other people like that. But again, I have a problem with like the context of it all, despite
because like she's well, let me guess, is your like criticism that she's kind of like she says all this stuff but that doesn't really lead to anything, or
no? Well, it starts out of nowhere, right?
Yes.
She talks to Emilia about the donors being corrupt, and then we just break into song. It's like, whoa, what the fuck? And she's going este habla, whatever. Like it's good, but I'm like, well, how did this start? You can't just. Again, the point of musicals is like, oh, you're frustrated. Well, in this scene, it would be you're frustrated, so eventually it boils over into song. Your emotions get the better of you. That does not happen. And then again, does it lead to anything? Nope, does not. There is no, as you say, point after this movie where there is anything to do with, oh, there's a lot of these corrupt officials who are involved in this scheme who actually themselves are just perpetuating the issues which they claim to be fighting against. Nothing to do with that throughout the rest of the movie. And what is Rita complaining about?
She's complaining about like how they're corrupt and they're evil and they're criminals. I see what you're going to say, Luke. Whereas that's ridiculous because Emilia Pérez is already a criminal. Yes, you are.
Who is she fucking working with? Again, you are working with this former cartel boss. You don't have any qualms about hanging out with her. And maybe you're like, oh, she's changed. But again, she really hasn't changed that much. And again, Emilia should kind of disgust her because she like, I think it'd be realistic if she was like, okay, I'm going to work with her on this non-profit, but I'm not going to like her. But she genuinely does like her, and she genuinely sees a difference between Emilia and all of these people, when honestly she shouldn't see that big a difference. She's so mad and angry about all this corruption, and then they're there at the front of the mall giving this speech is an ex-cartel boss who has caused all of this pain. So yeah, again, I just find the hypocrisy. It's incredible that, again, whoever this fucking director was, Edouard, didn't really think about Reese's character at all. That's what it seems like, to be honest.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, also the fact that like they don't deal with that conflict means that you don't they don't really have a moment where they properly connect. So like my enduring criticism of the whole film is that I never buy that there's any meaningful connection or relationship between Emilia and Rita, and like part of that obviously could be solved if she actually confronted the issues she has, and maybe they work past it. Anyway, so should we move on to Mexican criticism now?
Yes,
Luke?
Let's talk about the Mexicans. Yes.
Yeah, Mexicano. So the thing about this is I know that they're angry. I don't entirely know why, but I have a rough. So Mexican audience have criticized Emilia Perez's lack of sensitivity and context, especially after director Jacques Audiard admitted to minimal research on Mexico. Additionally, casting director Carla Hull angered many...
It's Carla, by the way. This is a woman.
Yeah, and I also read that as if it was casting director, and I was like, hold on, I thought they already casted so additionally, casting director Carla Hull angered many Mexicans by implying a lack of local Mexican talent as a reason for the mostly non-Mexican cast. Mexican critics also called the film an insensitive caricature that seemed to justify drug traffickers. The song Papa, performed by Emilia Perez's daughter, was mocked online by Mexicans for its simplistic and ridiculous lyrics. Okay. Yeah, so that's something I've heard. I've also heard, interestingly, this wasn't mentioned at all, because this is the only thing that I'd heard from Mexicans, was that the accents in this movie are like Spanish accents instead of Mexican accents, so it would almost be like having a movie set in America where all the Americans are speaking with British accents.
Well, I thought, again, I don't know, I can't tell the difference, but obviously, Carla Gascon is Spanish. Yes. So it would make sense if she speaks with the Spanish accent. And fucking Rita Moreno, that's the character. Zoe Saldana is American, I think, as well. Well, she certainly, of course, has appeared in a lot of Hollywood movies. And Selena Gomez, I'm pretty sure she is American. Yes. So, yeah, the three main characters are all not Mexican. And, yeah, I guess you can tell if you are Mexican. And, yeah, I again, one of the things I criticize the movie for is, Emilia Perez, she's doing some good. It's such a tragedy she died at the end of the movie. No, she was a drug trafficker. And I think the Mexican people, they really don't like the cartel. I don't know if you're aware of that, Michael.
Yes. So they're a bit uppity about it.
Yes. I think that's fair to say. Yes. And again, there's probably some good Mexican actors you could have hired. I don't think Selena Gomez was that good, to be honest.
No, they're definitely there. Have you ever seen that Mexican weather girl?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, they should have hired her.
Yeah. Okay.
So Jessie rekindles her relation. When I read that, for some reason, even though I know she's called Jessie, I just said "Hey, Mr. Wayne." I guess it's because it's Mi Camino, right? Yeah. Jessie rekindles her relationship with Gustavo. Mi Camino. She tells Emilia they plan to marry and move the family. When Emilia refers to the children as mine and becomes physically aggressive, Jessie flees with the children. Okay, so here's the thing, Luke. I'm going to be honest with you. Mi Camino is actually the song I like. But I should say the thing I like about it is it sounds like a song that I could. It's a song that I would most like to actually jam to, just like.
You don't like the esta habla, este habla.
Yeah, no, something about that. It's just not quite there.
But can I just say, it's weird that Selena Gomez is in this movie.
Yes.
I recognized her, and I was like, wait, that's Selena Gomez. Was she in some Disney stuff? I don't know.
Yeah. And she also dated Justin Bieber. That was a thing. Remember when Selena Gomez and Justin Bieber were dating? Yeah,
she's not meant to be a serious actor, but she's in a movie that's nominated for Best Picture. But yeah, again, I actually put in my notes the number is weird. The song, Mi Camino, I thought that was average.
You know what, Luke? The thing is, I will make a confession here, and this does perhaps change things. For my own reasons, I was kind of going back through the soundtrack at one point because I wanted to remind myself some of the songs, and the I think actually the kind of the soundtrack, the songs are slightly better produced than they are in the actual film, because I think like there's a lot more going on symphonically in the official like album version, whereas obviously in this like they're kind of doing like a karaoke thing, so it's a bit like bad. Or it doesn't sound necessarily as good, so this is my equivalent to watching Dune 2 in the cinema. I listened to the album version of Mi Camino.
Okay.
So I'm rating this movie a 10 out of 10.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do that, and I'm wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think again, back to the theme, about can you change yourself?
Aggressive.
Yeah. Okay. The cartel boss again. Well, the ex-cartel boss. They still want to control, their kids and, well, now their ex-wife, using these old tactics, fear and intimidation, because you can't really change who you are, despite the sex change, but apparently you can later, as we'll see. But I thought this was the point of the movie, like Emilia Pérez, just going back to her old ways because she can't get what she wants, but maybe I was wrong for thinking that, so let's go on.
Jesse and Gustavo kidnap Emilia and demands a ransom from Rita. Rita attempts to negotiate with Gustavo, but a shootout ensues. Emilia finally reveals her true identity to Jesse, recounting intimate details of their first meeting and their wedding day. Perdóname. So there's like a lot of things that happen here, but just like one thing is that I think like because there's not really any reason why they would need to cut off Emilia's like fingers just before anything. And I was thinking, like, I bet the reason why they did that is because otherwise you'd just think that Selena Gomez, Jessie, is entirely justified, because essentially, like, obviously, Emilia's like kind of abusive and aggressive and possessive, and is also holding money that really should rightfully be Jessie's, considering,
Oh yeah. No, again, it's you say all that and it's true, and it's wild that the movie ends the way it does again. But yeah, yes. This song Perdóname, I find it hard. I find it hard to feel anything for these two characters, considering Jessie. I don't think she ever speaks fondly about Manitas, and again, Emilia has just fucked over Jessie just recently. So I don't like Jessie still holds some feelings for her ex-husband. Okay, I get that, but like, one of these people, again, has been very abusive to the other. So I don't really think that... I just don't really care about this.
Not only like do I not like buy the relationship, I also feel like there's at least like a reason. I always feel like it would be more rational if you're if you have this like abusive guy, and she's like, oh, I'm worried that this Manitas guy would like chop us up into little bits and stuff. And then you find out that actually who you think is like his cousin that you've been talking to this whole time has actually been him all along. I feel like there'd be a sense of like almost betrayal and like maybe scaredness, whereas obviously instead she's like it actually like rekindles their love, which is kind of like touching on what you already said about they don't really establish any reason these two would have some kind of big emotional cathartic moment. Anyway, Gustavo and a confused Jessie load Emilia into a car and drive off. As Jessie realizes what has happened, she becomes guilt-ridden and orders Gustavo to pull over. As the two struggle for a gun, the car veers off the road, killing Gustavo, Jessie, and Emilia. I do have a thing to say, which is I think everyone's stupid in this movie, because or like in the end, because here's what like could have happened. Presumably, Emilia Pérez would rather be short 30 million than die. So I don't know why Rita's like, oh, let me be incredibly awkward with this negotiation and also bring a load of people with me. Because I assume like a lot of the time, I mean, I don't want to set up myself to be kidnapped here, but I would assume a lot of the time with kidnapping, the reason they do it is because sometimes you actually just pay the ransom and then the person's released, which is, it's bad that the kidnapping happened in the first place, but that's kind of the best result for everyone because then no one dies. So like Rita's already screwed that up, and then to compound the stupidity, Jessie, like after finding out this information, instead of being like, hey, like, what are you doing? I don't want to do this anymore. Or like trying to like reason with this guy Gustavo, she pulls a gun on him, and then Gustavo, instead of like responding like a normal human being, like, what are you doing pulling a gun on me? Like, why are you doing that? He like decides to try and wrestle with like the gun out of her hand. I was thinking like nobody's like behaving like at all rationally, or as if they have. It feels like the film's very contrived because it wants to reach this conclusion of everyone dying.
They're all Latinas, so they're all very.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, okay, that does make sense. Thanks.
Yeah. They're all hey. They're emotional.
You stupido.
Yeah. So that's the reason. But again, I don't feel anything for these characters when they die. One of them was an ex-cartel boss who, again, didn't really change her ways. The other was this random thug. And I guess it's sad that Selena Gomez or Jessie died, but, Selena Gomez is annoying. So, yeah, I don't really care.
She's not even that hot.
And I don't know why she is guilt-ridden either. I don't really know why she feels bad. I'd be like, oh shit, so you faked your own death and left me, and now
exactly,
fucked me up. I wouldn't be guilt-ridden. But yeah, again, I thought, maybe this is the message as well. Even if you change everything in your life, you even have a sex change, your old life, still catches up to you. You can't outrun it. Because, of course, Emilia, along with her ex-wife, they both die. It's what often happens in this cartel life.
Yes, so Rita is devastated over Emilia's death. Epifania, who began a relationship with Emilia, marches in the streets singing Emilia's eulogy and celebrating her fight for truth and freedom. Las damas que pasan. Well, Luke, I will let you rant. You can have the floor. I think I will agree with everything you say. But okay. Yeah, just go at it.
So a charitable reading of the ending could be, okay, you can change your legacy, but you can't change who you are. Perhaps, but what if it's saying you can actually change who you are, and we are meant to mourn Emilia Pérez? We, as the audience, are meant to be like, oh, it's so sad that she died. Yes, she tried to reform herself. Yes, she even had a sex change, which again, I don't know if the movie's putting any emphasis on like, there's this aspect of femininity which is naturally better than masculinity, which again, I don't think the movie goes into, and I wouldn't necessarily agree with that either.
Yeah.
But again, Emilia Pérez was responsible for so much death and suffering. And is the movie saying she is absolved of that because, what she did in this movie? I think that's an incredibly stupid thing to say, and I find it ridiculous. And again, it's what I've been talking about throughout this review.
Yes.
Rita, who of course is the main character, well, she's not the main character, but she seems.
I would say she's like the main character.
Yeah, well, she seems to like Emilia. So maybe we should as well. Rita seems like a reasonable person who, again, we're not meant to dislike. So, if Rita likes her, then surely we should have the same opinion, right? And it's just ridiculous. Despite all, the reforming, the non-profit, all of that stuff, she even tried to stop Jessie and her kids from having a happy life at the end, and basically set in motion the events that killed Jessie as well.
Yes.
She is somewhat responsible for that. So I would not mourn her death at all. I would not end the movie, with a eulogy to her. And again, these people don't know who she was. But, as the audience, we're seeing this eulogy. And I think we should interpret it as, oh, wow, look, she did fight for truth and freedom. What a great life that she, well, not the overall life that she lived, but look how she turned her life around. Wow, isn't she an inspiration? That's what the movie's saying. Isn't she inspiring? No, not at all. Not at fucking all. And it's crazy for the movie to go down that direction. And this is I'll just conclude by saying that yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, this movie, I remember when I first talked to you about it, you thought it was controversial because it talks about trans stuff.
Yeah,
well, it doesn't really talk about it that much, to be honest. But it's not controversial because of that. It's controversial because of this, the message, and the fact that it's quite bad, and people thought it was good as well. So yeah, I think this is, honestly, up until the last scene, I was like, yeah, it's kind of bad, it's kind of annoying, it's kind of frustrating, but the last scene, made me think it's like a 3 out of 10, or it's that bad, maybe like a 3.5. But go on, tell me what you're going to give it, Michael.
Yeah, so I absolutely agree. I don't think we need to add anything. You know what, actually, I'm going to give this one a low 3. And pretty much for the same reason. I mean, obviously you said it makes sense to give it a 3, so yeah, and I would actually think give it a 3 anyway. Yeah, no,
I'm going to land on a 3, so let's go on to the next movie. What is it, Michael?
Yeah, so next movie is Wicked, Part 1. They really sprung that on us, didn't they? Like, you sat in the movie theatre, you got your popcorn, I can't wait to watch my Wicked movie with my wife and my kids or whatever.
I'm sorry, did you watch this in the theatre?
I didn't, but I'm just imagining, I'm putting myself in the perspective of another person.
Another man, maybe.
Yeah, another man.
Because I was going to say, wow, you actually watched this in the theatre? That's incredible.
But, yeah, I would have killed myself. I would not be here if I watched.
Okay.
Just because it's, let's just say starting off, because I'm imagining, this movie is 2 hours and 40 minutes, and then you see part 1. It's like they didn't say that in the advertising. Be like, oh god, I'm going to have to do this all again. Anyway, so Luke, since we are reviewing Wicked, why don't you tell us a thing or two about Wicked?
Yes, Wicked, titled as Wicked Part 1, is a 2024 American musical fantasy film directed by John M. Chu and written by Winnie Hotzman and Dana Fox. It adapts the first act of the 2003 stage musical by Stephen Schwartz and Holtzman, which was loosely based on Gregory Maguire's 1995 novel, a reimagining of the Oz books, and the 1939 film The Wizard of Oz. Okay, so we have the 1939 film, then we have these Oz books, and then we have the 1995 novel, and then we have the 2003 stage musical, and finally we have this movie. This has gone through 5 adaptations, or 5 stages of being adapted, and we are finally here. So, Wicked stars Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, Jonathan Bailey, Ethan Slater, Bowen Yang, Peter Dinklage. Wait, what? Peter Dinklage was in this?
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't realize you wanted me to confirm that for you. But yes, Peter Dinklage was in this, Luke.
What
couldn't you recognize his face? Oh, do you not know? He was the goat.
Fuck. I just thought if he was a goat, he'd be a smaller goat.
Yeah, you thought it would be a kid.
Yeah. I'm surprised.
That's understandable, yeah.
You didn't laugh at that. I'm sorry.
I actually think that, little people deserve our full respect.
Be fun. Okay, yeah, we cast Peter Dinklage as the goat. Oh yeah, we need to to make the goat a bit smaller then. Get onto the CGI right now.
Yeah, well, you got to bear in mind he played that giant dwarf in what's it called?
Oh yeah,
novel.
Yeah.
If anything, they're like, we need to make the goat giant to compensate.
Michelle Yeoh and Jeff Goldblum also star in this movie. It was released on November the 22nd, 2024 in the United States. And Michael, can you tell me the budget for Wicked?
No, I cannot. Well, I guess like a lot of it went to the marketing budget. No, let me think. I don't know, fucking 100 million.
Okay, I was going to say, it's going to be a lot, isn't it, right?
Yeah, so I could go even more, but like, I don't know, like 150 million.
Correct.
Okay, good.
Bang on, 150. Well done. I mean, it's a nice round number, but you got it. So what about the box office?
Okay, so I think, was this the highest grossing film of 2024? Because I'm thinking, like, what else was there?
Well, you should know it's not, but go on.
Okay, so I don't know what the other film would be, but it probably, I don't know, so fuck it.
Think about what's been popular over the last,
Oh, fucking Deadpool, Wolverine.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
But I still feel like this was up there, so let's say this movie made 700 million.
The movie is the highest grossing musical film adaptation of all time, grossing $727.8 million.
Yay!
So yeah, that was a good guess.
I'm a genius.
Yeah, the 5th highest grossing movie of 2024, by the way.
Movies make a lot of money.
And there's another one this year, another one coming out this year. So, Michael, our second musical of this review today, did you like Wicked?
There were times when I almost found myself enjoying this movie until I realised either towards the beginning how far I had to go, and at the end how far there was that I'd already seen. I think for me, like my 2 big issues with this film is one, I just didn't really like connect to the characters, and 2, I just find like this whole the people you think were like the good guys in the original film, it turns out actually they're the bad guys, and this person who you thought was a wicked witch, actually she has this really sympathetic backstory. I actually think that's like, it's such a lazy man's I've said before that I hate Judas apologia. There's like some people who think they're like super like it's super interesting to be like, what if actually like it's fucking The Last Temptation of Christ. This is why I hate Martin Scorsese. It's like, what if actually Judas was Jesus' best friend and they planned to have him betrayed? And isn't that like an interesting? No, it's not interesting.
The Last Temptation of Christ is a great movie, by the way.
It's a terrible. No, I think overall, I think I haven't actually seen it in a very long time.
All right.
But
I won't stand for the slander on that movie.
I hate it. No, I don't know. Willem Dafoe's good anyway. But yeah, the thing is, so it's like, but that idea of like, I sometimes think actually having like a character who's just like an evil, spineless traitor or a wicked witch is actually quite a compelling archetype, and it's like it's a visceral notion. So to be like, actually, look, she was green and everyone bullied her. I fundamentally reject that whole like premise. And just overall, while I think this film had like fun moments, like I like the way they said words wrong. So it's like, it was like a miserable experience watching the film. I was just like, I'm not like getting anything out of this.
Okay, so look.
You loved it.
I did not hate this movie as much as you did. And I don't reject out of hand the idea that, okay, there's an interesting, compelling backstory to this evil character, which gives them depth. That's not, of course you have these archetypes, these evil archetypes. But you know what? If the Star Wars prequels had been done well, it'd been really interesting to see how Anakin became Darth Vader, because he was a Jedi once, of course. And how did he become this evil person? So it's not like, you can't have these interesting backstories featuring these, evil archetypes. And, you have the Wicked Witch of the West, yeah, I think you're right in that this movie does have, or this whole adaptation of, this whole Wicked thing, it does have one trick, and the trick is subversion of a character. So, of course, the Wicked Witch of the West is actually, this kind person who gets bullied. Glinda, this nice fairy, whatever she is. I don't know what she is in the original movie. But she's actually kind of a bitch. She's actually kind of, kind of nasty.
She's a bit of a bimbo too.
Yes.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Okay. And then you have, what's the guy called? Theodore? What the fuck he's called?
Theoden?
He's got some gay name. And the actor is actually gay, but, whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Jonathan Bailey. I know.
More like Jonathan Gailey.
Yeah, there you go, nailed it. No, but yeah, he's got like a name that some fucking girl would write as a fan fiction name.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but it's actually not shallow. He's actually unhappy. Oh, that subverted your expectations, hasn't it?
Yes.
And the Michelle Yeoh, the kind-hearted teacher who wants to help this girl who's been bullied, she's evil. And then you have the Wicked. What's he called? The Wizard of Oz. There you go.
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum.
We already kind of knew that he's kind of evil as well. So again, the movie does have one trick, and every single character, from what you'd expect, it's a subversion. And again, it kind of gets old, to be honest. But at the same time, I don't reject out of hand this idea that you can't have an interesting backstory on an evil character. As you said, an archetype of evil. And
I kind of go back and forth on it, because on the one hand it's like there are like situations like Darth Vader where it's like interesting, but on the other hand, for example, like even taking Star Wars, I don't think I feel like if they did that with Darth Sidious, like Emperor Palpatine, I feel like I'd probably be like, oh come on.
Emperor Palpatine got bullied at university on Naboo.
Yeah, that's it. I'd be like, but also, I mean, like you could do that like interesting, like if it was, I don't know, like. Well, it's not. I'm not going to like waste this. We've got a 2 hour and 40 movie. I'm not going to talk about how you could make a good Palpatine sequel. But yeah, like maybe there are good ways of doing it. But I think like if you're going to do that, it has to be some kind of like really interesting thing. And I guess like that's the other issue. For all I know, Wicked Part 2 does an incredible job showing how this woman like changes or something.
Exactly. No, but it's really interesting how the movie ends and where it ends. But yeah, overall, I haven't really told you my thoughts on the movie.
You haven't.
I kind of like this quite a bit. And I can understand after watching it why this movie was some people were suggesting, hey, this may win Best Picture at the Oscars, because honestly, the rest of the movies aren't that good. And this movie, actually, I was enjoying it for quite a large proportion of the movie. And again, I found we will see over the next movie, the Michael Corleoneification of the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yes, we better.
Yeah. We will see that, and again, Michael Corleone is in The Godfather. That he's a character in that, and that of course is a grown-up movie. This movie again, it's based on a fucking kids movie. The Wizard of Oz. Again, and I guess you could say Star Wars is for kids, but not really as much as like The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Like it's a very simple story, and you have this simple archetype in a kids movie. Like, I get your point. You really need to add depth. And, add an interesting backstory and be like, oh, actually, she was bullied. And, this is how she became this evil witch to, again, an evil witch in a kid's tale, in a kid's movie. Do you really need to do that? Well, no, I guess you don't, but it is kind of interesting. And I'm kind of glad they did it, because this movie is, I enjoyed it mostly. So I'm not against it, even if this is perhaps the most extreme example of taking said archetype and, again, just the most basic archetype you could find, an evil character in a kid's movie. So it's the most extreme example, and therefore I get your point. But still, I'm fine with it. So
yeah, for me, the hardest part of this movie was getting through 2 hours and 40 minutes of it. For you, the hardest part was coming out to your parents as gay.
So yeah,
because you're gay because you like the movie is the joke.
We talked before about this movie. If you like it, you're gay. And
yes,
again, I think. Yeah, I can understand.
You think you are gay?
I think I am gay. No, I can understand why there is this stigma around musicals in general. But thankfully, I have on my side alpha male Ben Shapiro to back me up.
That's actually a good point.
Who liked this movie quite a lot. And so, therefore, I am very comfortable in my sexuality now. I've got Ben Shapiro on my side.
Yeah, there's not going to be any wet ass pussy here. So, all right. Let's talk about this movie then.
Let's get into nitpicks, yeah. So my nitpick is Bowen Yang needs to kill himself. And
that was going to be one of mine too.
So I sent that to you. And
yes.
I was kind of hoping you wouldn't see it, but you did see it. But yeah, Bowen Yang needs to kill himself.
So he's the gay guy, right?
Yeah, he's the gay Chinese.
I loved him. I thought it was really fun.
He's the gay Chinese guy. Yeah, he's just so annoying. He needs to kill himself.
Oh really? See, I actually thought it was my favorite bit. I liked how gay he was. I liked how consistently gay he was at all moments.
So who's the gay one now?
Yeah, I think I like gay men because they remind me how straight I am. Because they remind me because of the contrast.
Okay.
Anyway, shall we talk about the plot, Luke?
Yeah.
In the land of Oz, Australia, ostracized and misunderstood green-skinned Elphaba is forced to share a room with the popular aristocrat Glinda at Shears University. Shears. And the two's unlikely friendship is tested as they begin to fulfill their respective destinies as Glinda the Good and the Wicked Witch of the West. That's the plot, Luke.
Yeah, again, there are a lot of subversions. That's what I just put, because that's what it is. It's oh, the Wicked Witch of the West. Oh, she's the good one. Glinda the Good. She's the bad one. And yeah, it's an unlikely friendship, I guess. That is true. I don't really know what to say of the plot, because it is just, the backstory that you would expect if, of course, you were trying to, do an interesting thing with these two characters and subvert your expectations on them. One of them is bullied, and and that's why she fights for the animals. She doesn't like racism or animal racism, and because she's green as well. So it all makes sense, really.
I was also thinking this is a lot like Jim Carrey's The Grinch. He was bullied for being green. He was also bullied for being hairy, which Elphaba should counter. To be honest, let's address the real elephant in the room here. Elphaba is a perfectly fine looking woman apart from being green. And I actually think she'd slay mad. I don't know what the male equivalent to Gash is, but she'd slay mad amounts of it.
Well, she's probably a lesbian. Actually, no, she's not.
Okay.
Obviously.
Well, yeah, she should be. I mean, she could be because the movie would then be gay.
Well, Cynthia Erivo is, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So assuming she is a lesbian, which I think is fine, she would slay mad Gash. Well, actually, maybe she wouldn't because women aren't as into. Never mind. Okay, let's talk about the script, Luke.
Yes. So go ahead, Michael.
In the land of Oz, Glinda the Good joins the citizens of Munchkinland as they celebrate the death of the Wicked Witch of the West at the hands of a female child, whoever that is. Asked why wickedness happens, I'm going to stop saying W like that, especially if it's not even a WH. Glinda ponders the question by discussing the witch's backstory. She was ostracized due to her green skin and magical abilities. No one mourns the... I actually can't remember the tune for a lot of these things, but no one mourns the wicked.
We haven't really talked about the music in this movie compared to Emilia Pérez, where we criticised it. I think this one, again, there's some memorable songs, but overall it's not amazing.
None of it's making on my Spotify playlist.
Yeah, I will say, although it was nice to know what they're saying in the songs, because it was in English, so I got that. But yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, again, how did this happen? How did this witch, become evil? Well, she was bullied. That would do it.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the thing. It's another problem I have in the movie, basically it's kind of the same problem, let's be honest, but another expression of the same problem I have is just the fact that you're introduced this idea of this movie's going to be about where does he become, which obviously I know it's a movie for kind of kids, so you don't really expect it. Kids and gays, neither of whom do I expect to fully understand evil. Considering
what the Wicked Witch of the West did in Munchkinland or whatever, fucking Oz, will this be like in our world? Somebody making a prequel, a sympathetic prequel about Hitler?
I assume so. I'm going to be honest, Luke. I actually did consider. I was like, should I bloody? Because I'm sure I've seen The Wizard of Oz when I was a very young child. But I was thinking to myself, should I actually watch that bloody movie so I can have any context for who this Wicked Witch was? Yeah, did she genocide?
Yeah, I don't think so. I just think she was evil. She did some generic evil. I can't remember either. But the Munchkins hate her, but I don't know why.
Yeah, I actually kept confusing this movie with other movies. There was one point when they freed that lion cub. I was like, is that going to be Aslan? And I was like, no, I'm retarded. Anyway, years earlier...
Wait. So I was going to make this point later, but you brought it up. You know what... I mean, I assume this is the case. You know what the lion cub is or who he is?
The Cowardly Lion. Oh my god, yeah.
Moron.
Well, you got to bear in mind, like I say, I didn't watch this incredibly famous movie in anticipation of this, so obviously I didn't know all the things about it that are completely ingrained into pop culture.
I assume that's the case. Again, to be honest,
they should have had. If that's the case, they should have set up all the other ones too. To be honest,
I called you a moron. That was just me and my amazing brain who can spot these things.
Well, I think I was just as smart for coming up with Aslan
because he was trembling, you see, and he's cowardly. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. So. I did pick up something very subtle actually about a certain brick road, but years earlier, Elphaba arrived at Shears University following a release of her magic. Madame Morrible offers to enroll Elphaba and privately tutor her. Elphaba accepts in the hopes that it will allow her to meet Oz's ruler, the wonderful Wizard of Oz, and be de-greenified. The Wizard and I did like the song, The Wizard and I thought it was a fun song, but every single time I try and remember it, I remember the song from Frozen, where she's happy about the party.
Can I just point out, like, people think it's the weirdest thing that she's green. One of their teachers is a fucking goat. And I know, he gets fucking, like, crystal knacked at one stage, the goat.
So you're saying, like, that there is precedent for it, but yeah.
But, the other students, why are they so weirded out by someone being green? This is a world where fucking animals talk. I don't get that, but maybe it's they're just used to that and it's weird to find someone who's green. I don't know. But also, Madame Morrible can do magic, but when she does it, everyone likes her. But when Cynthia Erivo does it, well, we can't have that. She's green, so it's weird. Is that just racism? But because Madame Morrible, who seems pretty Asian to me, I don't see any other Asian characters in the movie.
Well, you got to bear in mind, so like Asians are the good ones if you're a racist. So like everyone's racist, and that's why the Asians are loved.
Yeah. Okay.
Madame Morrible is like writing articles for I don't know, New Republic about how like Asian people being discriminated against by affirmative action, and that's why she wants to get rid of DEI. To her discontent, Elphaba is forced to room with the bubbly Galinda Upland. The two clash constantly. What is this feeling? So that's the one where they hate each other. Loathing, positively loathing. I think it's pretty clever the way that, like, well, I mean, kind of clever, like not like the most clever thing in the world, but just the way they end up actually like bunking together, because like obviously Galinda keeps trying to get Morrible's attention, so obviously pretty good. Well done.
And again, this Galinda girl is pretty annoying. And
I like the bit where what's face is like blonde.
Yeah, and a real subversion. Yeah, there's some kind of witty lines in the movie. Not that witty, but I'm kind of okay with that because I just hate musicals which think they're so clever. Or just these kind of movies which think they do. There's some decent lines in there thrown in once in a while like that. I appreciate it. So again, just a real subversion from what you would expect. Yes. And also the whole school. So the novel came out in 1995, right? So this
same year I came out.
This whole like university kind of reminds me of Hogwarts to some extent, and I'm sure people were thinking that, but the novel came out before J.K. Rowling wrote any of her books. So
she's the hack fraud, if you can imagine such a thing.
It's not a crazy thing to there's a school and there's magic in this school. Well, there's not really that much magic, to be honest, in this school.
To be honest, if anything, they're actually like quite a bit different, and this school feels a lot less magical than Hogwarts.
Yeah, and to be fair, it is because Cynthia got to stop. What's her fucking name? Elphaba. She is unusual because she can actually do all this magic stuff.
Elphaba follows Dr. Dillamond, an animal professor, to a meeting of animals.
Figures.
Dillamond reveals other animals are losing their civil rights, but Elphaba assures him the wizard will set things right. Something bad is happening. I mean, the thing. So this whole like racism thing or whatever, like anti-animal racism. It's quite an interesting plot. Or like an idea to have this world where animals can talk, but people want to stop them talking. But I also feel like in terms of like world building and like kind of like it doesn't feel properly contextualized for me.
Well, no. So they have a comment about it's because of the drought.
Yes,
and that's the key thing. But
people want to eat animals. Well,
yes, maybe that's the case. But also the drought seems over now, and you could say, well, there's a lingering effect from that. So people are naturally still suspicious of animals. But it seems, of course, given what the wizard is doing in Oz, there is a ramping up of this animal discrimination. And the question is why? Why are they ramping it up? Is the wizard, is his political position in danger? Doesn't seem like it. So there must be like a motive, a reason behind it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, there's no real explanation for it.
It seems like the drought it's gone. It's not, it's not here anymore. Also, this nice little joke after all the talk about, racism. The meeting that the goat goes to, it's so because it's there's the racism parable. Is it kind of like a Black Panther party meeting?
Oh, good one, because it's like a panther. Yeah.
Yeah.
The rebellious student Fiero Taigular, is it pronounced Taigular? I can't remember. Takes a group of students to a party at the Oz Dust Ballroom, dancing through life. Yeah, I like this song because it's about how you should be a bimbo. Like just a dumb little moron.
Okay, so the lack of contrast, and I mean this in terms of the lighting, the colours in this movie. It was evident from the start, but in this movie it's fucking crazy. I mean, the brightness is turned way up, coming in, or the light coming in from the windows. And people, I think, mentioned this on Twitter, and I saw it. And then I'm watching the movie, and I'm like, fucking hell, this is so distracting. And yeah, this movie, who was the director? John Chu. People were saying, oh yeah, he just does not have it in terms of being a good director. And yeah, this movie, this scene in particular is really bad. Like, there are no rich colours really in this movie. And this number, it wasn't that good either. And yeah, I just thought the movie did not look good, especially in this scene.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of like those things where people like they think if you just turn things up to 11, so if you have like really high saturation, really high brightness, it's like if the movie is really bright, then that must mean that it's like bright. Like it means it's happy, so you're having fun.
Yeah.
Galinda learns from Morrible that she will be allowed to join the sorcery seminar at Elphaba's request. Elphaba is ridiculed for wearing a pointed hat that Galinda gave her. A remorseful Galinda dances with her in the Ozdust duet, and the two later bond popular. Yeah, I didn't like Elphaba's dance. I thought it was embarrassing, and she should be embarrassed.
Yeah, it's weird that she does that.
Yeah, I was cringing.
Yeah, I don't really know why. Also, why did Elphaba help Galinda? Is it because Galinda was like, oh yeah, you can come to this party, and she thought it was sincere, so maybe that's why. But I was like, why does Elphaba, back Galinda? Maybe that's the reason. Also, I just want to say, Ariana Grande, I think actually is the best actress in this movie. I think she's better than Cynthia Erivo. I actually think she's really good. She's surprisingly good.
She did that really good. You've seen her in SNL, right? She did that really good impression of Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, no, she's a really good actor. Apparently, I had no idea. She is incredibly talented. So yeah, there you go.
She's the next Florence Pugh. Absolutely.
Why is she the next Florence Pugh?
I just thought Florence Pugh's a really good actor. Yeah, I was going to say Elizabeth Shue.
Ariana Grande is older than Florence Pugh.
Oh, okay. She's she's the next. I was going to name someone younger.
Well, you could have gone for like Lady Gaga. That would be the best one, even though I don't think Lady Gaga is as good as Ariana Grande.
Yeah. I can't think who's a really good singer cum actor. Oh, what's her face? Oh god, in the movie with Selena Gomez, that's it. That's who she is. Dillamond announces that animals are no longer allowed to teach and is removed from his class. His replacement shows off a new contraption, a cage with a lion cub enclosed within it. An enraged Elphaba puts everyone to sleep except herself and Fiyero. They release the cub into the forest, and Elphaba reflects on her love for Fiyero and laments that he prefers Galinda. I'm not that girl. I will say, I wrote in my notes when like this happened, I wrote, what is this Umbridge ass plot development? Because I was thinking about like in Harry Potter where it's like, oh no, the ministry, like the bad guys have taken over Hogwarts.
He never appears again.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Yeah, it's like this movie, I feel like it kind of somehow, despite being 2 hours and 40 minutes, it also simultaneously sometimes feels like things are being rushed through.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the crazy thing. So the whole musical is only 3 hours long. So this is going to be almost, well, it is going to be like 5 hours long in total.
Yes.
The two movies. So yeah, that's kind of crazy. But also Fiyero, he is unhappy and he's actually not shallow. And that is what we call in the business a subversion.
Yes.
So there we go. Once again, the number is also quite predictable too. Like, I'm not that girl. Yeah, like,
You're on the phone with your girlfriend. She's upset.
Yeah. Also, the racism parable is just so on the nose. Like, it's just again, I guess it's for kids, but like, it's like so fucking obvious. But yeah, I guess that's maybe a theme with Oscar movies. Well, certainly last year, maybe this year as well. There's just a lot of movies which are quite blunt in how they do things. But yes. Elphaba receives an invitation to meet the wizard. Galinda, now going by Galinda, accompanies her. They ride a train to Emerald City and affirm their friendship. One short day in Emerald City where you can never feel shitty. Yeah, I do kind of believe that their friendship is real. Because, they hate each other and then, like, they accidentally,
they accidentally help each other, yeah.
Yeah, they accidentally have these acts of kindness and it's like, okay, now we have this understanding. And so I get that. And now they're friends. Yeah, I think I buy that. Also, the train station looks like absolute shit. Again, talking about how bad this movie looks. That looks really bad, man. But yeah. I like how in that number, One Short Day, we go into the Oz lore. And they think it'll be a wizard who saves them from Omaha. Do you like that?
Yeah, because obviously they're not in Kansas.
Go on.
After being introduced to the wizard, Jeff Goldblum, A sentimental man in an elemental plan. Elphaba says she wishes to help the animals instead of changing her skin color. Just one of those like normal things. It's like, I actually wish I would rather help animals. I want every single vegan to walk around like just explaining themselves that way.
Yeah, I want to change.
I'm a vegan because I don't want to change my skin color.
I want to change my skin color. I'd rather do that than help the animals.
Yeah, I think I think I could go a shade or two lighter.
Okay, the Jeff Goldblum casting is so obvious.
Yes.
It's like, oh, we need a weird, quirky old guy to play the wizard. Well, get Jeff Goldblum. I mean, he plays a similar role in Thor. What's it called? Thor Ragnarok, right?
Yes.
And that's fine because, again, this character isn't well known. I don't know if it even existed before Thor Ragnarok, the character that he plays in that movie. This character, though, is a very famous character, the Wizard of Oz, like one of the most famous characters in, film history.
Ever a whiz that was.
So when you put Jeff Goldblum in that role, it's like, oh, okay, so this is Jeff Goldblum now. Like, it's so obvious that the casting. It's just it should not have been done. This was a poor choice.
Oh, I mean, well, speaking of obvious, I personally had a strong sense of dislike for the yellow brick road thing. I just thought, I mean, like the only way in which I could compliment it is by saying like it was so obvious that it almost looped around to being funny. It's like, oh, I've got this brick road and I just don't know what color to have it be.
Yeah, it goes on for so long.
Yeah, and it's like I've shown you all these different colors. Should it be a pink brick road?
Yeah. If he just said, you know what, I'm thinking of yellow, or Cynthia Erivo was like, well, how about yellow? I was like, oh, maybe I'll try it.
Yeah. Or maybe like it's like, oh, I like the Emerald City, but sometimes I feel like there should be a color other than green. Like, I don't know, yellow. Like, don't even have to relate it to a road.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's also like one of those things where it's like, sometimes when you explain things, it's bad.
Yes.
So Morrible arrives and she encourages Elphaba to cast a spell from the Grimoire. She casts a spell that makes the monkey guards painfully sprout wings, allowing the wizards to use them as spies. Elphaba realizes they're behind the persecution of the animals, and the wizard is a fraud with no magical power. I will say, like, it's like they don't even really try to hide their plan. They're just like, yep, these monkeys. I tell you what, they'll make good spies.
Yeah, so that's a bit on the nose. That's a bit frustrating. But
yeah,
I do think this kind of dynamic that the movie has set up is genuinely interesting because I didn't know where the movie was going. I know eventually, of course, what would happen to Elphaba, but I know about the original Wizard of Oz, so we have this drama, and with that context from the Wizard of Oz about the wizard being a fraud, essentially, it creates, I think, a compelling scene of like, oh, what's going to happen? How is what's she called, Elphaba going to react to the wizard being a fraud? What's Morrible's role in this? What's Glinda going to do? Because of course we know what happens with her, but she's been friends with Elphaba. So yeah, I think it's actually quite an interesting scene, and I can understand why. If you're going to do a backstory as to why the Wicked Witch of the West, why she became evil when she was good at first, what happens in the scene, that would do it. I can completely believe it. I do wish there was a reason as to why the persecution of animals was continuing. That is frustrating as well, but I do think the scene is quite fun, and this is the point of the movie. I was really enjoying myself. I was like, shit, I've watched some Best Picture movies that have been nominated for, obviously, Best Picture at the Oscars, and I've been quite frustrated watching them. I was not like frustrated watching this. I found this interesting, and that given obviously I think the context of knowing what happened in the original Wizard of Oz, it helped. So yeah, I find this good, and this is maybe the difference between me and you. I found particularly the ending quite interesting. Yeah,
I will say just like one thing, like because you said like this is like an interesting reason for why she become wicked. I think my issue is like she's not wicked.
I think I said the Wicked Witch of the West. I didn't say wicked.
Okay, sorry. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because I'm just thinking like I guess like my problem is I suppose like what I'm wondering, because obviously like the start of this film connects it to like the Wicked, like Dorothy kills the Wicked Witch, so it's like are they gonna? I am really interested. Like you're not wrong to say, oh, it's really interesting to see like what will happen in part 2, because I am like, how are they going to do this? Is she actually going to become a bad? Because Elphaba seems to, not Elphaba, the other one, Glinda seems to think, oh yeah, she was like a wicked person, so I don't know if she's just lying. There is like actually a lot of stuff based on how this ends that you're like, yeah, I really don't know where this is going to go. I suppose actually, since we just mentioned the ending, Elphaba steals the Grimoire and flees. Glinda implores her to reconcile the wizard, but Elphaba rebels. She bids farewell to Glinda and escapes on a broomstick. As Morrible warns Oz that Elphaba is a wicked witch, Elphaba flies west, leaving Glinda behind, defying gravity.
Okay, so this is a banger, Defying Gravity. I think I really enjoyed the last part of the movie.
It's like a famous song.
Yeah.
I mean, like not to say like that's not, it's just like, yeah. In keeping with it being a banger, it is the most well-known song.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's well known because it is a banger, and it reminds me of Let It Go from Frozen. It has has the same energy about, no, I'm not going to do what other people tell me. I'm going to break out. And of course, I think Idina Menzel, is that her name?
Yes.
She sang Let It Go, and I think was she the Wicked Witch in the original musical from 2003? Perhaps.
Oh, God.
I think she did both songs, and I think that kind of works. And I don't makes me think how much inspiration Let It Go took from Defying Gravity, because again the songs are quite similar. Well, in their themes, of course.
Oh, by the way, Idina Menzel apparently has a cameo in this movie.
Oh,
I decided to look her up because I wanted to see whether or not you were right or wrong. And she has a cameo, which would strongly suggest she was in the original musical.
Yeah. And again, Cynthia Erivo, especially in this scene, shows off her talent. And as Ben Shapiro says, she has some pipes. That's. I remember Ben Shapiro said that in his review of Wicked. So yeah. And of course, we have the famous holding space interview, which everyone is aware of. Yes, that came from this song, and I guess the idea
space.
The idea is it's a metaphor for being gay or something, and that was the same thing with Let It Go. So the comparisons are there. Yeah.
Well, of course, I mean, Ben Shapiro could say, well, yeah, they aren't defying gravity because gravity is a part of the natural universe, and that's what they're denying when they do this. If you think about it, if you're saying you're defying gravity, you're literally saying you're defying the natural order of things. So they really didn't think that one through.
Again, I would like for Elphaba to get more into why she is rejecting the wizard, because people. It's a nice contrasted, because you have people without power, the wizard for instance, craving this power, and she has actual real power, real magic power, and she of course does not want it to be used by the wizard, and that contrast is interesting, but it's never really like spelled out, to pardon the pun. She's just like, I'm leaving. She doesn't make a statement to Glinda along those lines, which I think would have been nice. But yeah, it's not said. But yeah, again, I think we can see how talented Cynthia Erivo is, and the movie ends in a great way, and I think really does a good job of setting up the sequel as well.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like, I guess my big issue is I'm not sure how much I can credit a film with like. For me, it is like an interesting setup, but only in a way where it's very much dependent on the next film, like pulling it off. Like I'd say,
I disagree with that. I disagree.
I'd say, that's fine. Yeah, I understand that you disagree. Yeah, because for me, it's just like I'm like, well, it's interesting only because it leaves a lot of threads
Yeah, I guess the context,
unwound.
The context of knowing what happens in The Wizard of Oz, that helps.
Yeah, so maybe I should have watched this movie.
It does take advantage, I guess, of being a prequel, because you're like, it's so different. And again, this is why the prequels for Star Wars could have been better, because it's like things are so different to how they are in the original. So how did that happen? And again, it ends in a perfect way. So yeah. Anyway, you conclude first, Michael.
Yes. Well, look, let me just say that I think I will, like, before we watch Wicked Part 2, I will, watch this movie again, but I'll also watch Oz again, because I might actually decide to change my rating, because right now, I mean, it's not. I have a habit of disliking movies that I think are very long if they don't justify length. And to be fair, like, while we've obviously been blasting through this because we've been reviewing 2 movies, I also think this isn't a very difficult movie to blast through, in that not actually that much happens, which is kind of disappointing for a movie that is like 2 hours and 40 minutes. So in a way, for me, this was kind of a little bit of a, what's it called? That Martin Scorsese film, Killers of the Flower Moon situation, where I'm like, like, considering how long it was, that's a big part.
It's honestly, it was not that long. Like 2 hours and 40 is not 3 hours 20. I know you kept talking about this. Again, this is your ADHD.
I think part of it is because a lot of the other movies this year aren't as long. Like, this seems like it's the long, apart from The Brutalist, right? The Brutalist is really long.
The Brutalist. You're going to fucking hate
brutally
that.
long. I'm really interested in The Brutalist. Yeah.
What are you going to give it?
I'm giving it a low 4 because I just didn't really connect to it.
That's fucking ridiculous, honestly. Like you've got to improve your mental capacity to just watch stuff, because Killers of the Flower Moon, okay, I could somewhat understand it. It's 40 minutes less, and it moves at quite a fast pace, and it's a musical. There's some songs in it that should keep you reasonably entertained and not wondering what the fuck you're gonna do next. You shouldn't be drifting off. Like, come on, it's quite long, but it's not that long, and it's actually fairly decent. So that's why I'm giving it 7.5. I think that's fair. But yeah. Anyway, do you know who agrees with me, by the way?
Ben Shapiro.
Well, yeah.
That's it, and that's all that matters.
Some sort of bulldozer and run it directly through a model of Oz. Who knows? Actually, here's the thing. The movie's good. The movie's actually quite good. So, let me give you the lead up. I like the original musical. I have some ideological problems with the musical that we can talk about, what it stands for, what is the moral that they're attempting to promulgate here, why the very books by Gregory Maguire are sort of perversion of the original L. Frank Baum story. But put all of that aside. As a movie, the movie is quite good. So,
I agree.
Let me begin with some of the thematic stuff. Okay, so thematically, I'm a big fan of the original Oz books. Okay, the original Oz books are innocent, they're for kids.
I'm not going to stop. Yeah. It's throughout the rest of the review, he really gets into the details. And now I realize I'm going to be recommended a bunch of Ben Shapiro videos now because of that. Anyway, what are we doing next time?
So now, do I entirely know what we're doing next time?
Yeah,
Did you tell me this?
It's going to be the Brutalist and maybe something else.
But so the Brutalist and maybe something else.
Yeah, so join us for that. Yeah, and obviously we will be doing our Oscar predictions as well. In the meantime, so join us for that. So yeah, we've been selecting and reflecting on Emilia, Pérez and Wicked. Honestly, two movies that are not going to win Best Picture, but they're still interesting to some degree, especially Emilia, Pérez. Yeah, Join us next time for The Brutalist, which of course may win Best Picture. We'll know when we review it if it has. So who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
I've been Luke. Thanks for listening and goodbye.
Goodbye.